Hello and welcome to Sheffield Live. I'm Baile Jallo and this is Dr. Kulule Kusibanda and we are African Voices, a show where we tend to discuss the achievement and also the issues that affect Africans in this country and abroad. And today we've got a special guest, and that guest is the upcoming Lord Mayor of Sheffield, that is Councillor Majid. Majid,
hello.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So how was your day today?
It's been pretty good and had a busy day and just a couple of meetings, chasing up some emails, getting back to people. So, no, pretty straightforward day. Nothing exciting.
At least you were here on time.
Yeah, exactly. I try to get everywhere on time.
All right. Thank you very much. Right. Like I said, we are discussing about Councillor Majid today. His achievement. He is going to be the first African to become a Lord Mayor in Sheffield. And that is a great achievement in the African community. Not only is going to be the first African to become a Lord Mayor, he's currently the councillor for Bromhill and Sarrow. And prior to that, he was the president of Hull University. He was the president of the Student Union back in 2013. He came to this country when he was just about 5 years old. And since then, life has changed for him. He came from Somalia, as many of us who came from other countries. He came as a refugee in this country with his parents. And at the age of 5, since then, Sheffield has become his home. He studied here, and now he's working here. He's part of the council. There has been lots of up and down goings with the council regarding to trees, which we're not going to go into today. But today we're going to talk about his achievements. As an African, how did he do it? And what will be the advice that he will give to other Africans as well? Because right now, he's a role model. He's like an ambassador to many Africans. So, Majid, I would like to start, first of all, with your early days. You came in at the age of 5. And since then, Sheffield became your home. So what was life like when you came here when you were growing up?
I think for many immigrants, anyone that comes to the country, they can't speak the language, of course, but I was quite lucky that I came in young. So when you're young, language isn't something that you think about because all children, they just play with each other and it's not that deep, to be honest. But you also, communication, you pick it up a lot. Like, so the languages at a very young age, I picked it up very quickly and then just instantly gelled in. Whereas my mother obviously found it a lot more difficult to try and integrate, trying to go shopping, just all the kind of day-to-day life stuff. She would have struggled a lot more, whereas the only thing I was thinking about is just playing out a lot, to be honest. So yeah, I was quite fortunate enough that I kind of grew up in the Burngreave ward where it had a high density of people from ethnic backgrounds. So I didn't necessarily stand out. So there's people from all sorts of backgrounds, whether that be Pakistanis, Zimbabweans, just all people from different ethnicities, Yemenis. So that kind of was a lot easier to kind of communicate and integrate, to be honest. So it was. I didn't find any trouble in just childhood, to be honest. And then, yeah, so Sheffield then became home, and then we kind of decided to start our life here.
So since then, talking of the Burngreave area, as you and I will know, it's a very diverse area where you tend to find everything and anything at any time, which is one of the places that never sleeps, I can say, in Sheffield.
Yeah.
You know, you just said it was kind of easy growing up, but how was it like going to school and that kind of thing?
So I went to Fairvale School, and it was, to be honest, it was going to school was great. I had an incredible time in school, to be honest. But just like, I think, and anyone that's kind of lived in Burngreave, there's always certain issues within kind of living in Burngreave, because it is quite of a deprived community, to be honest, when it kind of just comes to socially, economically. So it's got a lot of issues, whether that be like antisocial behaviour, crime, drugs. But that just became a norm, to be honest. And so yeah, so it didn't bother me too much. I kind of had a lot of friends there. So I didn't necessarily get into any bother or anything like that, to be honest, even though I kind of knew a lot of the people that was involved in that sort of stuff. A lot of them were my friends. Not to say that I actually got involved in it, but it was just, it didn't seem to be Like, I didn't have a negative experience, but I'm sure a lot of other people did, to be honest.
But coming out of that community, difficult as you say it is, you made it, went to university from Bangreeve, and then now you are a councillor, soon to be Lord Mayor. And there are a lot of young people who from that area didn't make it.
Yeah.
They got trapped in drugs, got trapped in crime, and all sorts of things. How is that possible? How did you make it?
Do you know what it is? For me, I guess it was just a case of I just wanted to do things differently. Like, I never really compromised in a lot of stuff that I wanted to do. It's even as far-fetched as it was, even though a lot of stuff that my friends wasn't interested in, I just necessarily kind of knew what I kind of wanted to do. And a lot of the times I was kind of necessarily just experimenting. But I just as well, because a lot of people from kind of our community tend to think there's only one option or the other. Like, coming from an African background, I'm sure the only options your parents give you is doctor, lawyer, engineer, or you're nothing kind of stuff. Like, but there's other options people kind of get into, whether that's in the creative sector, whether that's in sports. It's just, it's not even like to say professional sports, but you can like get up in the like a sports industry. There's many options really, but just, I guess it's just a case of just believing in yourself, and to be honest. But as well, I guess honestly it's easier said than done, to be honest.
Definitely, yeah.
Because again, I had the same upbringing as many of my other friends that I kind of went to school with. Some of them ended up in prison, like, even though we had the same kind of background, to be honest. But would I say I had any role models at that time? The only like role models I had was just like my imagination, if that makes any sense. Like, I just used to just go online. I remember the like dial-up days of the internet, but just, I don't know, I just used to just be around myself, friends, but I just knew I always wanted to...
In your own small world.
Yeah, but I always wanted to do better. So I was never afraid of doing things differently, even though it might have negatively, like, people looked down and be like, why are you doing that? Like, it doesn't make sense. But I always just wanted to, even a small thing, even say, for example, like traveling. For example, I remember I must have worked, like, throughout summer, I must have worked literally like 3 months every day for 12 hours just to save up enough money just to go like traveling and for like 6 months. But it was just like my friends, family, like, why are you wasting your money? They just didn't understand it. They're like, but for me, it was just, I had a thirst just to explore and just to push myself, take myself out of the comfort zone. You
made it, councillor, and I just want to draw a line here between whether or not you made it because of your own power and energy, and you would say then that those that didn't make it didn't have the same inspiration or power. Would you say that your success out of Bangreeve would dispel the idea that postcode matters, that where you grow up matters? Are those who don't make it in Bangreeve somehow people who fail themselves, or has society failed them? Who fails those who fail? I
think it's a fact that Bangreeve people from like certain communities, the private communities, are always going to be, and they're not going to have a head start. They're always going to be starting way far behind, and say somebody who lived in the other side of the town, say like Netheridge, for example, that kind of, because look at the socioeconomic people kind of like got big houses, they can afford to go to certain private schools. So people from my community haven't necessarily starting back there really, but it does dispel the myth that you can't make something of, whether that's being a counsellor, whether that's being a successful businessman, whether that's being an entrepreneur or whatever. Really, like, it's just a case of just, fair enough, like, you can say, for example, say someone that wants to be a social entrepreneur, like, listen, I haven't got the, might say, the first problem they'll come because I haven't got the money to do it. But there's always, there'll always be barriers, but I guess it's how you kind of overcome those barriers, because networking, like using your imagination, being creative to get over some of the barriers, it is always going to be harder. So for example, say someone that wants to be, get into whatever sector, from Bangreeve is going to be harder for them. Someone that wants to do the exact same job in another part of the city. But it does, like, the point I was kind of trying to get across is, regardless of your background or regardless of circumstances, it is possible. Like, if you don't know something, just go and learn it. Like, especially with, more importantly, even in today's time, even just with the internet alone, the amount of knowledge, like, you can just go and find out anything. You can learn things. You can literally, everything's really accessible. So it's just a case of whatever field that you want to get into or whatever it is that you want to, it's been done before. There is a path. You can actually, it might take you longer, don't get me wrong, but you can take shortcuts by just using your creativity or other means.
Talking of that though, before we get into like the time you went to university becoming the president, this Bongrave area, if I can still go into that topic, because I used to live in that area myself. Do you think we Africans sometimes, i.e. like the Somalians and other Africans that live in that area, sometimes it's like when we come in, we just want to be where our relatives are or where the kind of people same to us are. That's one of the things as well that keeps us behind. Yeah,
but you know what it is? It's natural. Say, for example, if a white English person went to the Congo and then they found out there were some other English immigrants that had their own community, they would naturally be drawn to there. It's not even like when you get like Chinese students that come over, they tend to hang around with their own community, but that's just natural. You want to be around people that you can communicate with, that you've got something, and I wouldn't necessarily say that's something that's held us back. You could say, for example, like possibly certain cultural stuff has held people back, or people not valuing certain things. Even like, for example, my mum, she just kind of necessarily valued certain subjects at like doctor, I don't know, that kind of traditional thing. But that's how she defines a success. For her, for someone that's come from Somalia, success is just those things that they've just accustomed to know that. But they don't necessarily know there's other ways of being successful in other means. But it's just for them, they don't necessarily know. And I think parents, they want the best for you regardless, even though you may not agree with them, their intention is always wanting the best for you, to be honest. But it's, I would say it's natural to go to where your community is, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Then you moved on and became the Students' Union President at Hull University.
Yes.
Was that easy?
So basically, I went to University of Hull, and at the time, where I was deciding what course to do, so I went and studied aquatic zoology, and I just literally just wanted to do go to university, in all honesty. And at the time, I was just interested in like marine life and stuff like that. So I kind of just applied for there, and then I just got involved in sports. I came from a sports background, so I used to do a lot of MMA, mixed martial arts, and I just got involved. And I got involved in my students' union, campaigning on certain issues. I used to get involved in societies. I used to run a radio show. I just was really involved in the student experience. But then it came a point where I wanted to represent my sports club and just other like-minded people on a bigger platform, really. So that's why I kind of then put my name forward in becoming student union president. But before then, I was chair of council and I was involved in the sports committee at university and stuff. And then threw my name in the hat and then just campaigned on certain issues. And then just basically got elected, which was quite surprising, to be honest. But it was a massive and a great opportunity. I had an amazing experience at Hull.
How difficult was it for you, though, as an African, coming from Sheffield as well, from Bongrave area, then becoming the student union president?
Yeah, and it's like, for those that like Hull, it hasn't got a big ethnic minority population at the university there.
That's why I asked that question.
Yeah. But you know, it's honestly like, it's just the way I engage with people. Like, I guess, like, I'm fortunate enough that one of my skills is that I can just engage with people in different levels. And I think that's something that kind of helped me a lot, and just being able to work with other people. And I think somehow I kind of just managed to get my messages across to people, and it kind of resonated with people a lot. And then that kind of translated into votes. And then that's how I then got elected.
Is Britain, to a certain extent, is Britain, in your view, does it have instances of institutionalized or other forms of racism? Is there racism in Britain?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, yeah, definitely. It's even like when I was student union.
But you became president at a largely white university.
Well, if Barack Obama became president of the United States, they're still killing black people in the streets. It's like, it's not going to, like, racism still exists. Institutional racism still exists. It's fair enough. Say one person makes it. And that's the argument a lot of white race people will kind of make. Well, look, this person's done this. We're not racist. Look at this person's kind of. But no,
I've got a black friend.
Yeah, exactly. I can't be racist. I've got a black friend. But that doesn't necessarily wash on it. Like, it's a lot of BS, to be honest, but it still kind of doesn't negate all the institutional racism. Like, even know, it's been even statistically proven, and even there are many examples of it, just by your name alone, completely can have the exact same CV. Just change your name from, like, say, a white English name, John Smith, into, say, Mohammed Hussein. Don't have any response and no replies, and this John Smith person will kind of get it. Even at the same company. So it's a known thing that there's institutional racism in this country.
But how much of that institutional racism is simply the fact that as human beings we are tribal animals? For example, you know, you were saying earlier on together with Bela here that people from Africa or from other places seem to have gravitated towards Ben Grieve naturally, and that is in fact the fact that, you know, they were identifying with the people in there, that actually there's somebody I can identify with, it's a tribe that I belong to here. So I'm thinking that perhaps some of this racism is simply starts from a position of a tribe. I mean, I will identify easy with a name that seems to represent my tribe. I'm saying people would necessarily act that way. At what stage does that tribalism become racism?
Yeah, it's so in the context of Britain, and so for example, like, and I don't know what the Sheffield. I think Sheffield's 25% people from BME background. Sorry, 20% BME background, but under the age of 30, it jumps to 35. Kind of. So, but it's we've got a responsibility to reflect our country and the amount of diversity that's in this country. So, if say 20% of the country is like diverse, that should then be reflected in your work or whatever. But take that aside for a minute. It's in the benefit of an employer or anybody just to have that diversity in it, because it only enriches the workplace, it enriches every aspect of it. Like, I don't understand why an employer of any business would want to just have the same demographic of people that had the same beliefs, that looked exactly the same, because they're not contributing anything differently into the organisation, and meaning it's not going to grow, it's not going to be going anywhere really. So it's in everyone's interest, and I think we've got a responsibility as a country to make sure that our elected representatives are there to represent our country. So there's always, you hear the campaign of like trying to get more women elected, as well as more people from colour elected into the parliament, just to reflect the society we live in today. And for many people, they just can't you always hear mainly a lot of older white people saying, oh, we want it back to the good old days. We want it back how it used to be. But there was nothing good about back in. What was good about the back in the women couldn't vote, like Thatcher was in power. Like, there wasn't anything good, but they necessarily kind of like just reminisce about their childhood and kind of think, oh, it's good, but they just don't want to accept
not being on board with,
and as well,
the differences that has happened.
But they don't want to accept the contribution migrants have played in this country and have actually built this country, and it's only credit to this country, and it's only going to benefit this country if we accept more diverse people, and it actually enriches all our life. Like, they're happy to listen to people. Music is probably an ethnic person. Sports, like all the people they kind of idolize or they kind of listen to, or whatever they're influenced by, is people of color, as well as, of course, white British people. But just idea of we want our country back. Like, what do you want back? Like, your country's still there.
But Councillor, is it, you know, I always struggle with the subject of racism and how we address it in such a way that it doesn't, you know, alienate groups from groups. I mean, is it my taking certainly will be that from what we can tell, from what we can discern, from research and things like that, the majority of the people in this country are necessarily not racist. The majority may not be as loud as the minority, that we may have a minority that's very loud, i.e. those who were campaigning for Brexit on the basis of these foreigners taking our services, and we see that it's not working now. They were certainly an effective campaigning minority, but may not necessarily represent this country in terms of its total attitude towards diversity.
I think the first thing is we need to have those conversations. It's going to be uncomfortable conversation, because many people, maybe it's in the British culture, we don't like to kind of be confrontational, kind of just be awkward, but we need to start having those conversations, because if we're only having those conversations to ourselves and with other like-minded peoples, we're never really going to advance anywhere. So as well as having those conversations, I think education, it literally just comes down to educating, because a lot of people, unfortunately, are like, there's a lot of ignorant people out there that kind of just have one way of thinking, and just purely because they may have not like gone out and met another person of colour, because there's this always fear, like xenophobia, just fear of just the others that you don't necessarily know. So say, for example, a lot of these, like many like villages, many of the people that are like anti-immigrants because they're going to come take our jobs, they're going to take all out, the NHS is going to be full, we can't get there, but they've never met anybody. They don't, a lot of the stuff they read mainly might be from the Daily Mail, certain tabloids that spout this, but when they actually kind of meet other people and that are immigrants, they're like, oh, wait a minute, we've actually got more in common than actually what separates us, and then realise the NHS is actually propped up and supported by immigrants, that their doctor's an immigrant, the person who like takes them home after a night out is an immigrant, they probably might go to the takeaway, and so it's like, it's just, again, I think it just comes down to education, to be honest.
Okay, we'll just leave it there for the meantime, and we'll be going for a short break. After the break, where we're going to talk about how Majid decided to become a politician, to become a councillor and that kind of thing. But we'll just go for a short break. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be back soon.